A recent study showed that the cost of mental health in the UK was around £45 billion per annum. That has increased by 16% since 2016. The cost of stress is nothing compared and cannot be measured against your own health and well-being. You can always create more wealth. You cannot create more time. In the current environment, especially over the past 16 months, there's been a lot of transitions in life, in society, and especially within the workplace. We really must turn inward and look at our own practices and ensure that we are doing what we can to make sure that we are okay. If we don't do that and we're not present, then that starts to have a significant impact. It really does. I had once experienced burnout. Burnout has got several stages. Those stages, you start to feel demotivated, you experience increased stress, anxiety, lack of productivity, you experience disconnection and little joy. Is that something that you're experiencing now? Does that resonate and connect with you? I'm Alison. I'm an internationally accredited life coach, and I help and support people that are on the cusp of burnout. I recognize that because I was one of those people that thought and pushed to a level of performance and productivity that ended up being detrimental to myself, my family, the people I love and care about. And I make different choices nowadays. We all have the capacity to make different choices. There are tangible steps that you can take. And now is the perfect time to begin to do that. Take a moment just to reflect and think, are you feeling slightly anxious? Are you constantly trying to push yourself? It seems that sometimes that burnout is perceived as like a badge of honor, that it's a term that's very much in vogue and it's there, but it really has a significant impact. And our mental health and our emotional well-being, we must do all we can to ensure our health and wellness. Our health is really our wealth. There are certain things that you can do, certain steps, and a simple framework is just perhaps to start to be realistic, especially for new business owners or entrepreneurs. You're often juggling lots of different activities. It's not just wearing two hats. A lot of the time it feels like you're flying two planes at the same time. Set realistic expectations. And I understand that might not seem easy, but if you set a realistic framework and you operate within that, you're serving yourself better, you're serving your potential customers and your client base better. And that starts that choice, that culture of change. Change isn't easy, but it's possible. And change has got to start with you. As much as you can gain support and guidance, that inner work and those changes, they really must start with you. Start by being realistic and not pushing yourself to the point where you are starting to exhibit low levels of stress and anxiety, because that's when that slippery slope can really start to begin. It's also really helpful to reframe failure. We need to have a different relationship. Failure gives us opportunities and it gives us lessons. So if we do that simple reframe, it's often a really good and healthy place to start. It removes that perfectionism that can build and that can contribute to a negative emotional mindset as well. So those two things, just being realistic and just be kinder and compassionate to yourself if things don't work out. Sometimes that's for a reason, and there's usually a gift wrapped up within that failure. Take time to rest. That's one of the other symptoms. I significantly suffered for years, and I thought it was normal not sleeping past 4 hours, 3-4 hours for most of my adult life. I didn't realize at the time, I do now. But along with rest, there's a difference, and there are specific types of rest that we need to get. So make sure that you are getting adequate rest. Take that time, put you first, and ensure that you are getting that downtime that you actually need. There is always hope. Doesn't matter what situation that you are in, then there will be always a way forward. There genuinely, really always is. You can't see it when you're operating in your sympathetic nervous system and you're in flight or flight, and your neurochemicals that are flooding your system are usually that of adrenaline and cortisol. You're not looking at the world through the lens that you need to. I'd often used a phrase, be like the bison in the storm and keep on going. That's really valid for a lot of circumstances. But really, we need to reframe that when it comes to our own emotional well-being. We need to take time to pause. We need to take time to reflect, and we need to take time to rest, because those things are a recipe for health and wellness. There are lots of other things that you can do, and you will learn those throughout the course of the next couple of days. And I would encourage you to tap into those things, experiment and explore what works for you. But start those changes. If some of the things that I've mentioned today are resonating with you, they're resonating for a reason. And I would encourage you and invite you to think and take some time to look at small changes that you can make and steps that you can put in place to help and support you onto a path of wellness and to prevent burnout. Because once you get to that level, it's a significant detriment to you, but also everybody else that you're surrounded with as well. The simple things that you can do is connect. I felt so disconnected from myself. It become a normalized behavior. I hadn't even realized, because I'd been experiencing burnout, it had become more or less habitual. That's what had happened to me. And I don't want other people to experience that. So if I can help and support other people, that reconnection with yourself and connection with others is absolutely crucial. Because on the other side of that lack of joy, that lack of energy, and that disconnection that you get, those are all the little guideposts that are leading towards a place, hand on heart, you do not want to go. The other thing I would suggest is have a beautiful, energized, vibrant, and supportive community. You will have one. They will genuinely want to listen and support you. They may not be there to fix things, but they are genuinely wanting wholeheartedly to help and support. So build a community around you, one that matters, ones that authentically see you, and ones that will support you. There is far more support out there than you ever realize. But once you get a few steps towards unhealthier patterns, you might not see that. You might not feel your own value. So it's important to have that community surrounding you. And as I touched on earlier, make changes. If you are feeling at this point in time that you're not where you need to be, and you will know that, you will need to have a level of honesty with yourself. Make small incremental changes and start to put you first, because you matter. We've all been in a transition phase over the last 14, 15 months. There's been a huge amount externally that's impacted internally. And trauma is a strong word, but those circumstances that we've been experiencing have an underlying impact. And we all have to take responsibility to manage that and start to manage that internally. There is a hybrid of work situations going on at the moment. There is a lot of flux, and how we manage and respond to change and uncertainty is absolutely crucial. But the first steps of that have to go back to awareness of yourself. So if you have sort of felt a little bit more anxiety, your sleeping hasn't been as good as it was, you're starting to maybe just even physical, visceral symptoms such as increased heart rate, other things that are outside of your normal patterns, I would ask that and embrace that you look at those things and start to make smaller changes. There is only one you. You are irreplaceable. You have so much to bring. You can't do that if you're not looking after yourself. Self-care is absolutely paramount. And there is so much simple, cost-effective things that you can do to alleviate before you get to that cusp or fall off the cliff of burnout and have significant further steps to erode and impact on your own mental health and well-being. I hope that some of the things that I've mentioned today have connected with you, that have had an impact, or just made you pause for a little while. And if they have, please reach out, speak to people in your circle, in your community, because you matter. Your health matters, and every conversation counts. So I wish you all the best, despite everything else that's going on around. I would ask you just to take some steps and put you first. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to speaking to you in the future. Thank you.